In 2022, the Seattle Mariners finally returned to the playoffs for the first time since 2001. The last time the Mariners did so, 9/11 had just happened, the Xbox was a month away from existence along with Halo, the iPod didn't exist, LeBron James was in high school, Michael Jordan returned to basketball, Lifehouse's Hanging by a Moment was Billboard's #1 hit, and I was 9 years old. The Mariners went on to sweep the Toronto Blue Jays in the Wild Card Series and fell short in the American League Division Series to the Houston Astros. Scott Service says you're welcome, by the way. Hopefully, the Mariners can add on to this already talented team going into 2023. This is actually the second time the Mariners had a wild card run. The other run that the Mariners had with another wild card clincher was in the year 2000, when Aaron Carter wanted candy. Rest in peace, Aaron. We just escaped the fears of Y2K. Bill Belichick was hired to be the coach of the New England Patriots after ditching the New York Jets. Shaq and Kobe was the face of the NBA. The St. Louis Rams won the Super Bowl. George W. Bush was gearing up for the 2000 presidential election, and Ken Griffey Jr. wanted to leave Seattle. Wait, let's rewind a little bit. After the 1999 season, general manager Woody Woodward resigned from his position from the Seattle Mariners. His 10 seasons at the helm produced mixed results for the Seattle Mariners, with the heights of the club's 2 playoff appearances, but also the lows of many costly transactions to the detriment of the Mariners farm system. On October 25th, Mariners hired Pat Gillick as their new general manager, who previously enjoyed success with the early 90s Toronto Blue Jays and Baltimore Orioles. Within days of taking the job, Pat Gillick, along with Mariners president Chuck Armstrong and new Mariners CEO Howard Lincoln, held a meeting with Ken Griffey Jr. Unfortunately, Jr. wanted out regardless of what the management had to say. A couple of possible reasons include that he wanted to be closer to his father Ken Griffey Sr. and his dislike with the new dimensions that Safeco Field provided, where he did hit less than 50 home runs for the first time since 1996. He even stated that fielding a World Series contending team would not be enough to keep him. He even turned down a contract extension as well.
Ken Griffey Jr. declined the Mariners' multi-year contract proposal, which would have made him the highest paid player in the history of Major League Baseball.
They later held a meeting with Alex Rodriguez and his agent Scott Boras. However, Boras wasn't interested in any kind of a new contract until after the 2000 season. Moving on, the Mariners made aggressive moves in the free agency. They signed middle rotation starter Aaron Seeley, first baseman John Olerud, Japanese closer Kazuhiro Sasaki, strong arm reliever Arthur Rhodes, utility specialist Mark McLemore, and a serviceable backup outfielder in Stan Javier. These moves were key to the Mariners' future success going into the 2000 season, particularly after a once unthinkable trade proved to be inevitable. After months of the Mariners not accepting trades for Ken Griffey Jr. due to the dissatisfaction with offers, the Mariners finally made a deal. On February 10, 2000, the Mariners sent Ken Griffey Jr. to the Cincinnati Reds for a package including Mike Cameron, Brett Tomko, Jake Meyer, and Antonio Perez. While it was difficult to see Ken Griffey Jr. go, and it was uncertain how the Mariners could compensate for losing the face of baseball, there was not much the Mariners could do if he wasn't going to stay. They couldn't just let him leave for nothing. Griffey gave the Mariners a return that lessened the sting of losing a future Hall of Famer. Pessimism resigned, however. How could a team that didn't even make the playoffs in the last 2 years, with a great like Ken Griffey Jr., hope to do better without him? Although the Mariners lost their season opener to prime Pedro Martinez and the Boston Red Sox, Mariners won the series anyway, with Mike Cameron hitting his first home run and Sasaki striking out the first 3 MLB batters that he had ever faced for his first save in the major leagues. In the first game of the next series, Cameron climbed the center field wall to take a home run away from Yankees' Derek Jeter in the 8th inning of a close game. He was immediately given a standing ovation and quickly became a fan favorite, filling that Griffey void better than anyone could have reasonably expected. Later in May, the Mariners picked up stolen base king Rickey Henderson, who had only recently been cut by the Mets. He would go on to get an on-base percentage of .362 and 31 stolen bases out of the Mets' cast-off outfielder. The various off-season and in-season moves were the catalyst for a strong start to the 2000 season. With a 51-35 record going into the All-Star break, the Mariners' starting rotation anchored by Freddie Garcia, Jamie Moyer, and Aaron Seeley. They weren't exactly world beaters, but they regularly kept the Mariners in winnable games. The bullpen, which had only a few years earlier couldn't have been much worse, suddenly had a shutdown 1-2 punch with Rhodes and Sasaki. Offensively, designated hitter Edgar Martinez was having his best offensive season of his spectacular career. John Olerud not only provided consistency in the offense, but he also provided an amazing defense. And Alex Rodriguez was putting up MVP caliber numbers as it was expected of him. Joe Oliver, who was also brought in to be one of the catchers for the Seattle Mariners, was proved to be an underrated move. He provided valuable contributions while Dan Wilson and Tom Lampkin were dealing with injuries. However, just before the All-Star break, Alex Rodriguez suffered a concussion against the Dodgers while attempting to break up a double play. He would return 2 weeks later. During that injury, the Mariners went 9-5 during his recovery. A-Rod actually had thoughts on that injury as well.
I saw the film, it was very scary. I saw my mom called me. She was crying for 6 or 7 minutes because that's how long I was on the floor, knocked out. So it wasn't a pretty sight. I don't know what I was doing, maybe playing a little football.
To add more outfield help, the Mariners traded John Mabry and minor leaguer Tom Davey for longtime Pirates outfielder Al Martin. There was a rumor that the Mariners nearly traded for star Juan Gonzalez instead of Martin, who was not happy with the Detroit Tigers at the time. The rumor suggested that the deal fell through because the Mariners did not want to give up their starting prospects in Gil Mesh, Ryan Anderson, or Joel Pinheiro. Unfortunately, Martin did not contribute much for the 2000 season. On August 1st, the Mariners and the Red Sox battled for 19 innings. I remember watching this game with my grandpa, and we both spent 8 extra innings and extras, wondering if the game was ever going to end. Finally, in the bottom of the 19th inning, Mike Cameron hit a walk-off home run against former Mariner Jeff Fassero, ending the marathon. After 2 strong series against the Yankees and the White Sox, the Mariners went into a slump, losing 8 games in a row, squeezing their playoff chances. Here's what the standings looked like for the Mariners before the losing streak, and here was the standings after the losing streak. That difficult August included getting swept by the Tigers at home and losing a crucial series against the Cleveland Indians in that weekend, who were also competing for the playoffs. On August 29th, the Mariners found themselves in a 3-1 hole to the Yankees. However, in the bottom of the 8th inning, the Mariners loaded the bases with Alex Rodriguez up to bat against former Mariner reliever Jeff Nelson. A-Rod struck out, but an intense playoff atmosphere settled over the crowd to greet Edgar Martinez.
For Edgar Martinez. Well, usually a cross-up because he throws a lot of breaking balls. A winning run from first base. Well hit into right field. Back to the ball. Bellinger, grand slam, home run. Edgar Martinez, his 4th grand salami of the season.
Kazuhiro Sasaki easily closed the game, which became the turning point after an especially difficult August. The Mariners rode the momentum of that comeback to a respectable 18-10 September, hanging on to that American League Division West lead. Unfortunately, the Mariners lost a critical series, losing 3 of 4 to the Oakland A's at home, costing their AL West division. On the last day of the regular season, Oakland won their final game to clinch the division. The Cleveland Indians also secured a win, forcing the Mariners to win to avoid a game 163 against those Indians. The Mariners fell early 2-0 against the Anaheim Angels, but home runs from Alex Rodriguez and David Bell lifted the Mariners to a victory they needed to secure the wildcard berth.
We felt the last 2 days that we were in a Game 6, Game 7 atmosphere, and we had to win. We didn't have a choice, and I think it was great. And as far as Oakland, I think Oakland won it. We didn't lose it. You got to tip your cap.
We've had our ups and downs, and now it's on the upside. And I'm just so proud of this team because they've really played hard all year, and they played with intensity, and they played to win. It's a great group of kids.
The Mariners would make quick work of the AL Central Division champions White Sox, winning the first 2 games, which included an extra innings thriller of Game 1.
Ripped by Edgar Martinez to left. Carlos Lee will watch this one. Go! It's gone! And the Mariners have the lead. At it again in the postseason. His 5th postseason home run, and John Olerud sends it back. Gone!
They swept the series with Carlos Guillen's amazing game-winning bunt that put them in the American League Championship Series against the Yankees.
Oak, his 0-1 pitch on the way to Carlos. There's a bunt up the first baseline. The Mariners are on their way to the American League Championship. A beautiful bunt by Carlos Guillen. The Mariners sweep the Chicago White Sox. My, oh my, I don't believe it.
The red-hot Mariners, fresh off a sweep of the Chicago White Sox, took their momentum into the American League Championship Series against the Yankees. The Mariners got off to a quick start with a Game 1 victory behind Rickey Henderson's RBI thanks to a hustling Mark McLemore.
Here's his throw, it is not in time.
And an Alex Rodriguez home run.
This ball is drilled to deep left. If it's fair, it's out of here, and it hits the screen along the foul pole for a Rodriguez home run, 28.
Unfortunately, the Mariners lost each of their next 3 games, including a dominant performance from Roger Clemens, putting the Mariners in a 3-1 hole. The Mariners would at least win Game 5, forcing at least a Game 6. The Mariners jumped out to a 4-0 lead with an amazing Carlos Guillen home run, but the bullpen would fall apart. David Justice gave the Yankees a lead that they would not give up. Although the Mariners still made a game out of it with A-Rod's final home run as a Mariner, they would ultimately lose the game and the series. And knowing that the New York Mets would be the ones to play in the World Series, I actually do think that this was the Mariners' best chance to actually win a championship, because if you compare it, in 1995, they would have had to play the Atlanta Braves, and in 2001, they would have had to play the Arizona Diamondbacks led by the juggernaut of Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling. And going back into the American League Championship Series, why did Lou Piniella keep letting Jose Mesa pitch? To add a disappointing playoff run, Alex Rodriguez would leave for the Texas Rangers. However, there would be a silver lining as the Mariners would sign Ichiro Suzuki to a contract. In retrospect, I always wondered why this season does not get a bigger share of Mariners nostalgia compared to the 1995 and 2001 seasons. Could it be because they didn't make it to the World Series? Sure, but 1995 and 2001 are still heavily celebrated, and they didn't even make it to the World Series. Could it be because A-Rod is considered an exile by Seattle fans to this day? Could it be because they didn't win a division? Regardless, this season and the subsequent playoff run is the most special to me because of how they were able to rebound after losing MLB greats Ken Griffey Jr. and Randy Johnson to make a convincing run into the playoffs. Pat Gillick made smart moves that helped the team and the Mariners take the Yankees to at least 6 games in the American League Championship Series at the height of their most modern dynasty. And most of all, I really miss these Mariners jerseys. They really should bring these back. And thanks for watching. And what was your favorite playoff run and Mariner moment? Leave the comments. And if you did enjoy this video and would like to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell.